Nelson's English School, Standard 5th, Subject Science, Lesson 11 Moon and Artificial Satellites. The Moon. The Moon is the brightest object in the night sky. It has no light of its own. The moon shines at night because it reflects the sunlight. Since the moon is nearer to the earth, it appears to be bigger than the stars. But actually, all the stars and the planets are much bigger than the moon. The moon is the earth's only natural satellite. It is 384,403 kilometers away from the Earth. It revolves around the Earth. It takes 27 days and 8 hours, 27.3 days, to complete one revolution. Surface of the Moon. The Moon is just a rocket desert. Its surface is rough, uneven, and is covered with dark grey dust. Moon is made up of mountains and craters. Due to this, the surface of the moon appears to consist of bright and dark patches. Craters are saucer-shaped holes that have been made when lumps of rocks and iron, called meteorites, hit the moon's surface. These craters can be seen from the Earth with the help of a telescope. There is no life on the moon. The Earth is surrounded by a layer of the atmosphere which absorbs a part of sunlight, so it does not become very hot during the day. At night, the atmosphere does not allow the heat of the Earth to escape, but there is no atmosphere surrounding the moon, so there is no wind, no rain, and no clouds on the moon's surface. The side of the moon facing the sun is extremely hot, and the side away from the sun is freezing cold to support life. There is no air on the moon. As there is no air, the astronauts' footprints remain there forever. Also, nobody can even hear a sound on the moon as sound travels in air, so life cannot exist on the moon. Gravity of the moon. The earth pulls everything towards itself with the force of gravity. This force of gravity is also present on but the size of the moon is very small as compared to the earth. So the force of gravity is also less. It is 1/6 of the gravity of the earth. For example, if an object's weight is 42 kg on the earth, its weight on the moon is only 7 kg only. Phases of the moon. Every night the moon appears to change its shape. However, the moon does not really change its shape. It is the same round ball as the earth. Due to the revolution of the moon around the earth, its position with respect to the earth changes. So the moon appears to change its shape. The day-to-day changes in the shape of the moon as seen from the earth are called phases of the moon. New moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full, waning gibbous, third quarter, and waning crescent. New moon. When the new moon is in between the earth and the sun, you cannot see the moon at all. This is called new moon. It is dark on the new moon night. Crescent moon. As the moon moves further, you can see a small sunlit portion of the moon's surface. This is called crescent moon. Half moon. When the sunlit portion becomes bigger, you can see half of the moon. It is called half moon. Gibbous moon. When you see more than half of the moon, it is called gibbous moon. Full moon. When moon reaches the farthest side of the earth from the sun, you see complete moon. It is called full moon. The increasing size of the lighted part of the moon is called waxing. After this, the cycle reverses and the size of the moon decreases again and appears as gibbous, half moon, crescent moon, and new moon. The decreasing size of the lighted part of the moon is called waning. Waxing moon, waning moon. Landing on the moon. Apollo 11 was the spaceship that took 3 American astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins, to the moon. Neil Armstrong was the first man to step on the moon on July 20, 1969. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin brought rock samples and soil to the Earth. Scientists got a lot of information about the moon from these samples. This landing on the moon was followed by many more successful missions to the moon. Eclipse. An object that blocks the light and does not reflect it at all is called opaque object. When light falls on an opaque object, it casts a shadow. The earth and the moon are also called opaque objects. When the sunlight falls on the earth and the moon, they cast a shadow. Sometimes earth casts a shadow on the moon and sometimes moon casts a shadow on the earth, depending upon their positions. The shadow of the earth and the moon produced by sunlight are called eclipses. At the time of eclipse, the sun, moon and the earth are in a straight line. Lunar eclipse. When the earth comes between the sun and the moon in a straight line while revolving around the sun, the earth casts its shadow on the moon. It blocks the light of the sun to reach the moon. Hence, the moon cannot be seen partly or wholly. This is called lunar eclipse. The part of the shadow that blocks only a part of the sunlight is called the penumbra. When the moon is completely in the dark shadow of the earth, it is called a total lunar eclipse. When the moon is partly hidden by the dark of the earth, it is called partial lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse. When the earth is in between the sun and moon. Solar eclipse. When the moon comes between the sun and the earth, the moon casts its shadow on the earth. The people in certain parts of the earth cannot see the sun at all or see it only partially for some time. This is called solar eclipse. When the moon hides the sun completely, it is called total solar eclipse. No sunlight reaches the earth and it becomes totally dark even during the daytime. When moon hides the sun partially, it is called partial solar eclipse. It occurs only on the new moon day. You should never look at the sun directly during a solar eclipse. It can damage your eyes. Solar eclipse. Solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. Tides. Tides are caused mainly by the gravitational pull of the moon. Due to this gravitational pull, the level of water rises up and goes down twice every day. The regular rising and falling of the level of water in the sea or ocean is called tides. The tides are of two types, high tides and low tides. The moon's pull on the sea water is more than that of the sun. This is because the moon is much more closer to the earth. Therefore, the sea water on the side of the earth facing the moon gets attracted upwards. This causes the high tide. In the areas between the two high tides, the water forms low tides. Every day, the rotation of the earth causes two high tides and two low tides. The tides of the ocean vary with the phases of the moon. The highest tide occurs on the full moon and the new moon day. Tides are useful to ships. When there is a high tide, there is enough water to let the ships come easily to the port. The knowledge of the tide is also important for the fishermen before going out for fishing. As in a low tide, they cannot bring their boats back to the shore because the seawater recedes away from the shore. High tides also help in generating electricity. Artificial satellites. You know that the satellites are heavenly bodies that revolve around the planets. Humans have launched a number of satellites into space. These satellites revolve around the earth. They are called artificial satellites. They are launched by specially designed rockets. An artificial satellite is a human-made object that has been purposely placed into the orbit around the earth or other planets to perform specific functions. First artificial satellite called Sputnik 1, meaning a fellow traveler, was launched by the Soviet Union USSR on October 4, 1957. Since then, many countries including India have launched a large number of artificial satellites. Most of these satellites revolve around the earth. India has built and launched several artificial satellites. The first Indian artificial satellite named Aryabhat was launched on 19th April 1975. Some of the other Indian satellites are INSAT, Indian National Satellite Series, IRS, Indian Remote Sensing Satellite Series, Kalpana 1, EduSat, Bhaskara, etc. Aryabhat satellite. Some of the satellites and their uses are given as follows. Weather satellites take pictures of the movement of clouds and help to forecast weather. They give us early warnings of dangerous storms, cyclones, forest fires, floods, etc. Astronomical satellites help to observe distant galaxies, planets, and other space objects. Communication satellites help in sending messages from one country to another. Cellular phones, fax, internet, etc. send messages by these satellites. Remote sensing satellites are used to locate mineral resources, underground water, and for land mapping. Military satellites are called spy satellites. This help in detecting the launch of missiles, the direction of the ships at sea, and the movement of military equipment on the ground. Navigation satellites are used for providing geographical locations of the objects on the Earth's surface. Scientific satellites help to carry out the studies of the Earth and its environment. Space travel. Rakesh Sharma, Kalpana Chawla, and Sunita Williams are famous astronauts of Indian origin. They have made us proud and also inspired us. Astronauts go into space in space shuttle. These space shuttles are launched from a specific place by means of rocket. After the completion of the mission, the space shuttle comes back to land at special landing site. The astronauts conduct various experiments. These astronauts are highly trained to carry out tasks like spacewalking, monitoring each other's health, and conducting experiments. The astronauts know exactly what to do in case of emergencies. Astronauts wear special space suits. These suits create a small atmosphere around their bodies as there is no air in space. There is no gravity in space, so astronauts feel weightless there. Astronauts need to exercise every day to stay fit. Earlier, astronauts were selected from fast jet pilots, but modern astronauts are likely to be computer expert or scientists with technical skills and expert knowledge that could be useful in space. Summary. Moon is a natural satellite of the Earth. It takes 27 days and 8 hours to complete one revolution. There is no atmosphere on the Moon. Every night shape of the Moon changes due to revolution of the Moon around the Earth. Gravity of the Moon is one-sixth of the Earth's gravity. Eclipses occur when the Earth, the Sun and the Moon are in a straight line. Gravitational pull of the Moon causes high and low tides. Artificial satellites are very useful for communication, weather forecasting and study of the Earth and its environment. Thank you.